Welcome, everybody, to Big Show on the FM. My name is Joey.
I'm Jackie.
Thank you guys so much for checking us out with our newest episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Big Show on the FM on YouTube and give us a follow on the socials as well. And make sure you like us on Instagram, Facebook, and you can also check out the episodes on Spotify as well. We also love to hear from you as well, so remember to drop comments. Let us know what you guys are feeling about the episode, questions for our guests, whatever the case may be. Of course, we love to interact with you today.
Have any suggestions on guests? Do you want to be a guest? Let us know as well. That'd be pretty cool to have you join us.
Yeah,
you do have to wake up early.
Yeah,
but, you know,
just that one stipulation: you got to wake up
we
early.
Provide coffee.
Well, we are excited today, of course, with our guest that is going to be joining us, a longtime friend of the Big Show.
Yes,
we are so excited to welcome him. As a matter of fact, it was just a couple of weeks ago that he was welcoming us to his podcast.
I know. That was cool. Is it weird being on the other side?
It is.
Yeah.
Now I know what you guys were saying that day when I was interviewing you guys, and you guys are like, this was a little bit weird. You were usually the one doing the, asking the questions. But hey, man, thank you guys.
Here.
Thank you guys for having me here as early as it is.
So we call you Wicked. Do you want to say your government name? He's the wicked one.
He's the wicked one, is that we know him, but we also know his government name. So
yeah, you call me Wicked. That's fine.
Sounds good. Okay,
That's
Wicked.
fine.
So tell us about you. What we know about you? Tell them about you.
Well, I mean, of course, born and raised here in Las Cruces. This is my home. I've always loved it here. I leave. I used to leave a lot. I'd go up. I lived up north for a while. I lived down in Roswell, but I always come back.
Yes. Is there a reason for that?
It's just home.
Home, yeah.
Home. I mean, you guys, you were talking about when you go to Albuquerque, right?
Yes.
You're going to Albuquerque. Isn't there just a thing when you're gone for a little while and you get back and you see those Oregon mountains and you're just like, I'm here.
Plus, I like the fact that we are sopapillas for dessert and not with our food.
Right? Like, I still don't get
My
that.
best friend does. I heard her mom, and it's awesome, but that was the first time I was introduced to that. I was like, sopapillas are a dessert.
Yes, right? We went to... We went to go see Fluffy a couple weeks ago in El Paso, and we made a date night out of it, me and Betsy. So we said, well, let's go to Leo's to eat. And we go to Leo's, and she's like, she sees people then bringing out sopapillas, and she's like, do they still do that here? I was like, yeah. She goes, oh my God, we gotta have sopapillas. So as soon as the guy walks up, is that gonna be it? No, we'll take sopapillas, please.
Right, you have
to. And we'll take some to go as well.
Yes. But so yeah, I mean, just I've always loved it here.
Yes.
This is home. And, of course, I am a father, and now I am a grandfather. I got my new baby grandson who I love. And, of course, still doing music. A lot of people here obviously know me by my music.
Yes.
The Wicked one, which y'all be sure to go on, stream it on Spotify. I'm still there. I got some new stuff coming up. But, and then now, of course, doing the podcasts that I got, I'm about to go 3 years into my football podcast, Gridiron Nation, and then, of course, Off the Grid, which you guys were officially the first guests of. And that one's starting to come up. So as for everything going on with me, it's just life, just doing some different things, but still finding myself in a studio environment, which that's where I'm comfortable.
So you were raised kind of in radio, right? Because your father. Yes.
My dad, Johnny Garcia, may he rest in peace. For many years, he was a DJ in El Paso, and I think I've told you guys he was at Que Buena. Way back in the day, when I was younger, he was here at KOBE. And he was out there with 93.9. He was in El Paso for quite a while, but I think Que Buena was the one that he was with the longest. Yes. And I remember being over there. I spent a year, my freshman year, going to Andrews High School in El Paso.
Oh, wow.
And I would go with him to work sometimes, and sometimes he would work the graveyard shift, and I would just go, and they had the studio right next door to him, so I would sit there, and at the time I'd be burning all kinds of CDs, recording them onto cassette. That's showing my age, right?
Notice how excited we got when you're all burning CDs. Yeah. We're like, we remember those days.
So he really, I remember just listening to him on the radio, and it was very natural to him.
Yeah.
Like, just everything came natural the way he spoke. He spoke Spanish really fast, but it flowed out so natural. And I remember I would hear people talking about how much they loved listening, to the Johnny Garcia show. And then he started doing internet radio when that kind of became a thing. and you know, until the point that he couldn't because of his voice and stuff like that. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, radio has always been something that I've always loved. I mean, you guys know as well as I do, you know, growing up, we didn't have back then the Spotify's, we didn't
Yes,
have all that.
exactly.
You know, we didn't have internet radio. So the radio station, the radio is where you got your music, man. Like, this is where everything that was out, like over here in Las Cruces, we were listening to stuff that was probably in California like months before
Yes, exactly.
we got it here. So I think a lot of my music is, I've always been geared towards putting it on radio for that fact, because I grew up and loved the music I heard on the radio. You know, anything from the 80s era where we're talking about, you know, the British bands, to hip hop, to rock and roll, you know, Huey Lewis and the News, all that kind of stuff just made me love radio. So I guess that and the connection with my dad, you know,
Yes.
it just kind of went into my music, that people are like, oh, you don't cuss in your music. And I never have. And it's
Yes.
just something I've always thought that when I make a song, I always feel like I'm making it for the radio.
That's awesome.
And it seems like
That's
there's a
awesome.
lot of passion in a lot of the projects that you do, because there seems to be this, you know, and oftentimes, and I can understand even with the music business, but when you talk about projects or anything that you're doing it with love, man, because it seems like it comes from a place of like, oh man, I enjoy doing this, and it's something that it almost feels, is it like a de-stress to you? Like it
It
just
is.
feels like an escape for you to be able to do these
Yeah,
things?
it is. Especially as I've gotten older. My music has become a lot more, I guess, deep about myself. You know, before when I used to do hip hop, you know, many years ago, it was just like, it was just doing it because it was, you know, it was what I came up on, and it was kind of doing a lot of that brag and boast type of rap that they were doing in the late 80s. And as I got older now, like everything with my music, even my podcast, everything in my heart, yeah, I mean, you're right, Joey, it goes right into it. I mean, you listen to my music now, and I always tell people there's just so much more of me in my music now. And I think a lot of that has to do with my songwriting, because back then they used to give me a beat. Hey, we got a studio session, 30 minutes or an hour.
Yes.
I can write you 3 verses, 16 bars, even with a hook. Boom, right there, 30 minutes.
Wow.
But now it's not so easy. But I think it's because I'm more of a critical thinker now with my music. Where
You've matured more.
yes, yeah. And so now it's like I edit so much, and no, that word doesn't sound right there. Let me flip it around, or let me change my rhyme scheme here. Whereas back then I didn't think so much about it. Where now it's like, because of, I take so much pride in it now. I said no, it's got to be perfect. You know, we're all perfectionists at what we do, especially when you're in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not always going to be perfect, and I don't ever say that anything I've done is perfect, but sometimes when I do something and it comes out the way I hear it in my head when I first think of the concept, I'm like, it's a rare moment, but it happens, and I just like, all I can do is you start feeling yourself a little bit. I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, I got
So,
it.
Wicked, way back when you were on Hot 103, how did you make that connection with Hot 103? It was before me and Joey. I know that.
Well, I mean, Hot 103 was like really the first hip hop station we had here. There was the first station playing hip. You know, there were other stations that would play some of the commercial stuff that was really hitting big. But I mean, I remember when Hot 103 first started, it wasn't just hip hop. It was a little bit of mix of everything. And then the hip hop kicked in, and so I think that's what really helped it take off. So I mean, I gravitated towards it, obviously.
Yes.
So ever since then, it's just been, you know,
You
Hot
were,
103 is the station.
Connected to Damien, right?
Yeah,
On that-
well,
yeah.
Damien's the reason that I actually got on the radio. Like, you know, the thing about Damien, shout out to Damien, man. I got so much love for Damien, especially with my music, because there was a time, you know, when you guys will remember when there was a lot of like different hip hop local groups and artists doing stuff, and everybody wanted to be on the radio.
Yes.
You know, and I remember meeting with Damien. I set a meeting with Damien and brought in a song I did with Don Cisco called "Shining," and everybody was like, "Oh, this is perfect for radio, man. It's pretty, you know, when people hype you up, and you're like, yeah." So I bring it in, man, and Damien sits and he listens to it, and he's like, "It's pretty good." And then he kind of starts giving me the criticism. So he kind of taught me about constructive criticism.
Yes.
You know, and when I took his advice, he said, everything's good on it. I would go re-record it, get a better vocalist, and he's the one that referred me to a guy, my friend Mateo up in Albuquerque, who I reached out to. We redid the song, and it came out amazing. So I brought it back to him, and yeah, he got it into rotation. He got it on the air, and I used to get people telling me, other artists, oh man, they're just haters over there. Damien's a hater. He doesn't want to get on. I'm like, you guys got to understand what his job is. I said, learn to take constructive criticism.
And he was so good at that because that's what he did to us for the longest time too.
And that was one of the things. He never did it with malice, and I think that's what some people.
It's like, what could you have done better?
It's really, he just kind of puts it in like the ball in your court and says, okay, what would you have changed? What would you have done? Do you think that was your best? And I think ultimately that's what you look for in that criticism. That's gonna make you want to elevate
and you're
to do more.
open to it. You're gonna, make yourself
exactly.
better. That's
exactly.
So cool.
And that's something about growing up in a music family. I guess that I was always kind of taught by my brothers and even my dad about constructive criticism.
Yes.
Especially when you're going to be doing anything with media. You guys know this. Even being on radio personalities, or whether you're just doing music or podcasts, there's going to be people that criticize you, but it's really that person that's inside of you that's going to make you better, because that's that person inside that's not going to say, okay, I'm getting offended by that. No, it's saying, okay, wait, what did they say I'm doing wrong? Let me go turn around and change that.
And everybody has a starting point, and I think when you get that criticism at first, because like you said, even with radio, you are going to get those naysayers, those people that are not necessarily fans, or you're not better than the last guy, or you'll never be this person.
Jackie has a squeaky voice.
Jackie's got a squeaky
told
voice.
That one. I
mean, there's been many things that were like, there was even one time on when Facebook Live really started to become a thing, and then we're put in front of these cameras and doing lives, and people are like, oh, that's what they look like, or this is whatever the case may be, but it's building off of that, and then just being comfortable in a sense in your own skin, and comfortable with what you're doing, and having those people that will guide you in the right way, just like how Damien DJ Black did for us. I think that's ultimately what can lead you to a path to success.
That's true. I mean, you hit it on the head right there. It's like you talk about just being comfortable with yourself, and I think we're all kind of, there's times I know you guys have done this, because I still do it. I may go back and, after I do an episode of my podcast, I always do a proof listen before I go and publish it and everything. And sometimes I'm like, oh man, I can't stand the sound of my own voice sometimes. Or sometimes I'm listening to my music and I'm like, man, what was I thinking when I recorded that? But at the same time, you tell yourself, but you know what, that's me. Yeah, that's me. And there's people that aren't thinking. We're our biggest critics, to be honest. And if I can criticize myself more than anybody out there, then I'm okay with that.
Summertime Groove, of course, that song. Summer Groove comes out, becomes a song of the summer for Las Cruces.
Yeah, definitely.
Did good.
It was even at one point up there on the hottest 8 at 8. You have this song that is rotating and is literally in high rotation. What is that like for you? Because now you're hearing it on rotation. People are calling in and requesting this song.
That's a good feeling, man.
It is.
It was I got to be honest, the first time I heard it, my kids who are all older now, they're in their 20s, that live up in Santa Fe, I had them down for the weekend at that time, and they're younger at the time, and I remember we had gotten up on a Sunday or something, or it was a Saturday or Sunday, and I was making them some breakfast, and we had the radio going. We had Hot 103 on, and all of a sudden it came on, and that was the first time I had heard it on the radio.
That's awesome.
And they had already heard it because they had my CD, everything like that, and I remember my daughter comes in and she goes, Dad, and she turns up the radio, and I was like, oh, did you guys put the CD on? She goes, Dad, it's on the radio. And I go and look, and I had to check the dial, and it said 103.1. I was like, oh man, crank it up, man. So it was kind of a special feeling too, because it was with my kids. And it was like I was with my kids the first time they heard their dad on the radio, and it was the same for me, hearing my song on the radio. And that song was really, man, it came out so dope. Nino Brown out of LA, when I got with him on that, and I remember, I'm like, I got to get a feature on this. And I kept thinking, who am I going to get? And I reached out to him, and we talked for a couple of weeks. And we got it together. I sent him the beat, the concept, and I remember him calling me up when he heard my verse and heard the beat, and he was like, "Oh," he said, "Dog, this is summertime. This beat is summertime." So it was good, man. It was good. It was great though, hearing it on the radio, and then to hear people, that that were calling in and requesting it. It's a good feeling, especially because, like, we started off the show, you guys, asking me about myself, and I told you my love for Las Cruces. So when it's your own people showing you love like that, I mean, there's no greater feeling than that.
And that passion definitely was in that song.
Yeah, it definitely was.
It still is very poppin', but there was a certain summer, it was just everywhere.
It was everywhere, and just like behind the scenes on our end. So we used to have this clipboard, and what Damon would do for the week is he would have the music that was in the rotation, and we would keep track, because we would keep track for the hottest 8 at 8. And you would get in there, so when you get these requests, you'd put a tally next to the song, so we'd have all the songs lined up. And I always remember that whenever you come in and you get it, you just start tallying. So that way, because that was the old way of kind of keeping track. So that way, by the time we got to 8 o'clock, DJ Black can pull up this clipboard and say, okay. And the fact that you can look like, okay, there he is, cool. We can go ahead and add him into the rotation, add it into the hottest 8 at 8, see where it's climbing and how it progressed. I mean, that was just such a cool thing that, I mean, that was back in the way that, we used to be able to track, because sometimes people it's like, oh, you guys just put the hottest 8 at 8 because, those are the 8 songs that you preferred, or DJ Black preferred those 8 songs. No, they were literally, phones would ring, we would tally them, keep track of them, and then go ahead and put those in for the 8. And it was a consistent thing, man, and it was just so cool, especially then you coming into the studio and then, are having our encounters, the three of us. Yeah. I mean, then it developed into a friendship, man.
Oh, it did. And you guys are my people. I tell you guys this all the time, man. I've always got nothing but love for you guys. And, I see you guys out at events and stuff. And that's one thing I always love about you guys. You guys are everywhere, man. You guys are everywhere.
Well, we value your friendship. Like, you're just always been a good person. And we love that you're in our circle so much.
I thank you guys for that, man. You guys have always shown me love, not just as a person, but my music as well. And I think that's, again, like you asked about my thing with Hot 103. And that's why it's continued. I'll always love this station. I'll always respect it. Whether, I don't always listen to it because, the newer hip hop, I'm just not feeling it at times.
Yeah.
So, but
we're showing our age now these days.
Real, we are, man. We are. But I still manage to find time, like, especially, whether it's on the weekend and we got Black Honor. There's times in the morning where I'm driving to work and I'm like, I'm going to see if I can catch them on the radio, And sometimes I'll hear a few songs and I'm like, man, I'm already at work. I didn't hear y'all come in once.
The music has outaged us too,
it really has. When we're introducing a Charlie XCX.
And there's Martine jamming in the background like, what?
And I'm just worried. I was like, did we say this right? I don't know if we said her name right. So we have to then go ask Martine. Martine, that's right. It's not Roman numerals. It's XCX, right? He's like, yeah, you're good. He'll give us a thumbs up. We're like, okay, good.
You gotta
we're
ask
good.
the younger generation.
Yes, for real.
You really do, man. And it's crazy. So now transitioning from music, and now we see you do podcasting, and you kick everything off. And I remember seeing the early stages of your sports podcast. What led you to that? Because it wasn't just hey, I'm going to just do a podcast. You really put a lot of thought, and you were getting people's advice.
Yes.
And then it just kind of took off. Talk a little bit about the stages of entering the podcast world.
So, when I was working over at Hobby Lobby before, a lot of guys there are football fans. We're all football fans. And me, you guys know I'm a big football fan. Love talking football, obviously. So we would just sit there at work, just talking football. Everybody talking football. And then I would have people coming to me and asking me stuff. And it got to a point where I was like, maybe I should try this podcast thing with football. And it did. I did a lot of research. I had to, because I was like, okay, it took me like probably months of planning till I decided to go through with it, because I needed to make sure my schedule was going to work. We had just gotten my studio put up at the house, and I got all my software, everything in there, and my Mac and everything. So it was like, okay, I'm not recording music as much. And I'm like, the studio would have been nice, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but I need to use it. And I loved, it came down to the thing again with my comfort of being in the studio, the radio station thing with my dad. And it was almost like something that just one day I was like, you know what, this is something I kind of want to do. You know, it wasn't something that I had thought of before, but one day, I shouldn't say one day, but it was almost like that, like over a series of weeks that I thought about it. Maybe I could start doing this podcast thing. And then it became down to where, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to talk about? How am I going to format this? So I started listening to a lot of podcasts, and I started seeing what they were doing. And I was thinking, nah, I don't want to do that. You know, that's a good idea. And I said, okay, well, let's talk football. Let's give that a shot. And I almost was going to do a Dallas Cowboys show. And then I said, you know what, though? Man, I have so many people, friends of mine, that do not like the Cowboys. I need people to support this show. So I said, you know, we're just going to do a little bit of everything. But I think what I did with my show, it's funny because first episode, kind of my trial episode, was where I was trying to do a debate show. I didn't have anybody on, but I was kind of like preaching my part of an argument, and it was about why I think Emmitt Smith is the greatest running back of all time as opposed to Barry Sanders or whatever. And I noticed, I go back and listen, I was really timid, like low talking, and now I listen to my show and I'm like, I'm all over the place. And so I started listening to it, and then getting feedback from people that were listening, and I was like, okay, this is something I can do. And I was happy doing it. I was actually, when I would get in there and I would record the show, it was like I was happy. It was like a release for me, you know, and it was getting my mind away from things and onto something that I like talking about.
So this was almost similar to like music. So this became
pretty much, yeah. It's almost became, I don't want to say a full-time replacement for music, because I'm still working on stuff, but yeah, I mean, that I used to work on music. It was like a daily thing, and now it's not like that. Now a lot of my thinking and time and planning goes into the podcasts. So the thing about Gridiron Nation, now that I've been able to do better at getting more people in, is that I don't, and I think I kind of started the show like this. I said, I'm not just going to do football. I know it's called Gridiron Nation, but I'll talk about other sports. And I think a lot of the people, I would actually get people, like if I didn't release the show on Sunday, they were like, I had people messaging me like, hey, what happened to your show today, man? I was waiting. I look forward to your show every week. And it was kind of cool to hear that. So I said, okay, I got to start being more consistent. And, you know, over the years, it's the days changed because of my work schedule or whatnot. But it became something that I started telling stories about just my life. I would like... I think one of my favorite ones, and one of the ones that I get a lot of people saying that it has them laughing so much, is that I had people say they go back and listen to it. It's from about 2 years ago maybe. And I was driving my daughter to her piano class, and I had Tupac playing. You know, Tupac's my all-time favorite. And I remember her just looking at my little screen, and she just kept looking at it, and I'm jamming out, and I'm looking at her, and she's just like, what, Lily? What? And she goes, can you change it? I said, are you kidding me right now? You don't disrespect Tupac like that in my car. And she says, I don't like that music. And I told her, baby girl, you know that's the kind of music that your dad does, right? She goes, I like your music. That I don't like. I was like, hell no. Not in my car.
Right.
Yeah. And then she's looking at the screen, and she's just giving me this look like disgusted. And I'm taking you to piano class. What do you think? You're Beethoven or something up in here? Now you're better than all of us? And she's just like, I just don't like it. I was like, okay, what, are you going to come with some British accent now? Can you remove that from my ears, please? And so that one, I mean, that's just the kind of stuff I started telling. I would talk about my week and my day before I would get into the football. And I think it kind of hit with a lot of people.
Yes,
because,
it relates more.
Yeah, so I started having people like, I end every episode, even with the Off the Grid, you guys know, I try to leave with a positive message.
Yes.
And I do this with the football podcast. I've done it since my first episode. I've always ended every episode with my favorite quote ever. It's from Bruce Lee, Be Water, about adapting to everything and flowing around everything. And so I always, with my message, it's talking about things that I experience in life and I think people relate to, the stresses, the struggles. And I've actually had people like message me telling me, man, that was a great episode. Like, I needed to hear that. Like, it was a tough week for me. It was great. And that's what kind of keeps me going, like with doing the show. Like, okay, even days, you know, when I'm like, oh man, I got to do the show today. But once I'm in there and I'm in there and I'm doing my thing, it's like, okay, I'm in a
It's like
good
a
place.
switch goes
So
off.
even when you're not doing your podcast and you're always thinking those positive messages in your head, that get you through?
You know what? To be honest, sometimes I do have to go back and remind myself about what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like in the sense that, man, I'm dealing with something right now, and I'm like, well, I kind of talked about this to people last week.
Yes.
So it comes to that situation where you got to kind of listen to your own advice sometimes.
Don't say it, just be it, That's cool. Don't just say it, be it.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
cool.
Now,
Exactly.
off, of course, your newest podcast, and you're welcoming guests, and some of the guests that you've had join your show. Of course, we were part of the first episode, but one guest episode that I caught was you had Jack Nixon.
We were so excited here. Well, you got Jack.
And
I was
we
hyped.
love
I was
Jack.
hyped.
And
Yes.
so what's a conversation like that, especially knowing the circumstances of what this season means, with it being his final season, and what's it to you to be able to have this one-on-one conversation? And I mean, you're talking football, you're talking his love for Las Cruces, his journey. What's that like for you? To be talking to we call him Cinco.
We do, yeah.
But what is it like, having that conversation with Jack Nixon?
It was cool, man, because, well, first of all, when I first started doing the show, before I even kicked off the first episode with you guys, I was already trying to line up guests. And now I'm learning, like, there's some guests just either won't, or people you reach out to won't respond to you, or they have people they got to clear it with or something. But at that time, I was just emailing people, I was calling people, and I went on to the NMSU Athletics thing, and his email was on there. So I was like, oh, that would be kind of cool. I grew up listening Jack Nixon. I've always been a Jack Nixon fan because I grew up on Aggie basketball on the radio, and so I was like, I'll reach out to him and see. And this was before the announcement had come out about his retirement. And so I reached out to him, and he responded back like in a couple of days. But it was funny because I put this big old long pitch in my email about my show and my plans, and all his response was on the email was, yeah, sure.
Oh, I love Jack.
Okay. So I gave it like maybe about 2 months. And then I said, okay, I got to get another guest lined up. So, let me reach out to him again. And I responded back. I replied back, and he says, yeah, we set up a time and date. And it really became like, as I got closer to doing the interview and I started doing my research on him and everything like that, it was like, wow, man, like, this is a guy that I grew up listening to him interview players and coaches. And now I'm going to interview him. And I started to realize that because I grew up on him like that, like, he's actually somebody that maybe influenced me the way I interview people and stuff. So it was cool. I mean, we had a little bit of a conversation off the camera, and he was just, he was talking about his time here, and I really loved hearing his stories. I mean, I could have sat there with him all day and just listen to him
He's such a
tell
good
stories.
person. I loved when he worked here with us. We'd see him every single morning here. We were very blessed for that.
That was one of our, like, he was always here before us too. It's like, I don't know if you just like
what was
knew.
his song? Someone called 911.
Oh yeah, Sean Kingston. And
Okay, yeah. Fire
so,
burning.
And there's an inside little thing to this.
so we'll go ahead and we'll show you behind the scenes a little bit. So there was this. So he used to, whenever he would do the newscast, and with Sean Kingston's, somebody call 911. If you ever listen to him do a newscast, and if there's ever a story about 911 was called, he will put that lyric that way in the newscast. So somebody called 911, find out more in 3 minutes. And he would say that, and he would keep that up. And there was other songs that he would do that, because I mean, we would have chats, our conversations before we would start the show while he's doing his news. So the fact that he would always add somebody called 911 was always
That's
the greatest
hilarious.
Okay,
thing.
tell him why we called him Cinco.
Yeah,
So-
what do you call him, Cinco?
This was NMBA, right?
Yes.
So one NMBA, he won 5 New Mexico Broadcasters Association's
Was it his
awards.
rings too?
And on top
Yeah,
of
he had,
that,
like,
to
the
match,
rings.
that he had 5 Aggie rings.
Wow.
So
We asked him to bring them, huh? Oh, we want to see the rings.
Yeah.
we
So-
were
so cool.
so like nervous when he brought them in. He's like, "Here, you guys go check them out." And he actually went and got him, showed up. I mean, the most beautiful rings that you will see.
They're
and I mean,
heavy.
obviously from the success that basketball has had,
Yeah.
obviously comes the championship rings. So he's showing these things, and we're like, little BB was like, I wonder if he would miss this.
Oh, he'll get you.
I was like,
I'll get you.
I was like, Jack would know because this is a giant ring, and I got little hands.
Yeah.
So there's no way. But the stories, like you said, the stories. He tells you these stories, and it was so cool. And he was another guy too that there was some times that I'd be talking to him and talking about wrestling. And just kind of, if you ever get a chance to talk to him about that, just kind of the people that he even knows in that industry, it's so fascinating and it's so cool. And it's one of those things that with Jack, just you can literally talk to him for hours and you're just like, oh my gosh, like we were supposed to be at work and we completely lost track of time. But just such an awesome guy, man.
Yeah, and I was really like honored to have him on there. Like I said, I reached out to some people where there's been no response or you know, somebody they got to clear it with doesn't clear it. But for him to be able to come on to a startup podcast with a person that he's, you know, I met him way back in the day. He wouldn't remember, but somebody that he doesn't even know. And to come on, it shows you the kind of humility he has, but kind of the class act that he is as well. So I really took it as an honor to be able to sit there and have that conversation with him, and you know, and to be able to ask him about his love for Las Cruces and the Mexican food and stuff. That's something I try to do with everybody, you know. But so it was a lot of fun, and it just honestly, I can't even say it made me respect him more because I have the highest respect for him, but it kind of solidified that respect.
Yes.
It's definitely going to be interesting, you know, when it's that final game for him to say, hey, because he's what a legendary voice that it is.
Yeah.
I mean, on the mic, you know, he's been, you know, on all these radio stations in town, and it's just such a good guy, man. So we love our Jack Nixon.
It's going to be a sad day. It's going to be a sad day for Las Cruces when he finally does that final broadcast and says that's it, and it's going to be like, nah.
We can't.
He'll be back next year, you know.
You got to fill in at least once, Jack. Come on. You sure you don't want to take that trip down to UTEP, maybe? I mean,
know. Do you guys even know how are they going to replace him? Do you know?
We don't know.
We have
And
no
I
idea.
meant to ask him that day, not on the show. I wanted to ask him off the show, and I just completely forgot because we were talking about so
we
much stuff.
seem to think that it's one of those, like, they're enjoying the moment now because they don't want to have to think about it because, I mean,
how do you replace him?
how do you replace someone like that?
You can't replace him, especially for as long he's been not doing it since the 70s here, guys. So it's like I said, all the years I've listened to Aggie sports, there's never been another voice on the radio but him.
Yes.
He is the voice of the Aggies, man. Your podcast, of course. We'll talk a little bit more about your podcast and what you got coming up and what some things we could be looking forward to.
Yeah, so Off the Grid, you know, I took a little bit of a break. My last episode, of course, was with Jack Nixon, which was a little over a month ago. So I decided to take a little break. Even with the Gridiron Nation, I'm only doing the audio version right now. Just need a break from the little camera, I guess. But I'm already coming back. I've got a few guests lined up. Man, I got Joey Solano, they're doing their thing right now with Hood Famous and stuff. So I got him coming up soon. Abel Garcia from Las Cruces, artist who's out there in Florida now doing a lot of his urban stuff out there. I've got him lined up coming up. Oscar Moreno from Sweet Desires Car Club. You know, they always got they always got a lot of things going on for the community, especially come holiday time. So I want to get him on.
He's good people.
Yeah, I love
Oscar's
Oscar, man.
awesome.
Good. They've always been they've always shown me so much love. So I got so much love for those guys. And I've got I'm lining up an interview with one of the assistant coaches from the NMSU Aggie basketball team.
Cool.
That's probably going to be the next one I do because the season's getting ready to start up. So I want to get him while he's not too busy to do it. But man, I've just got quite a few names. I still got to get Defect in here. He's got his art and stuff going on. So, and also I've got I don't know if you guys have seen gentlemen out there on Saturdays where Pool Tech is Mr. K's Hot Dogs.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went and talked to him when they had me some hot dogs the other day, and you know I really want to be able to use the show also to spotlight entrepreneurs and stuff. So let Las Cruces know about some of them because I feel like our community, if we know you, like know your background, know what kind of person you are, where you come from, we're more accepting that way. So I think a lot of people will take to entrepreneurs like that, especially
Yes.
with the food and stuff. Come on, we all love food,
Yes,
man.
that
So
is awesome.
so I'm gonna be getting him on as well.
Very cool.
Just a lot of different things coming up. I'm really excited.
One question that comes to mind: when are you going to perform live again?
I know.
That's
Come
funny you
on.
say that, because we were talking about Oscar, and they've got an event that they're planning. Big event with music, and he's been messaging me, call me, brother, call me. And I'm like, he's going to ask me to perform. And I can't tell him no.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't,
Come on, Oscar. You know what you have to
Yeah,
do.
you got to tell.
Yeah, so.
When was the last time you took the stage?
Oh, man. It has been a while. Actually, I think it was the last time I performed was an event for them, for Sweet Desires. They have their annual, it's like a cookout thing they do for all of the car clubs and their families at
Young
Apodaca
Park.
Park.
Or Apodaca.
And he asked me one year if I'd be willing to go out and perform for it. I was like, yeah, man. So it was kind of cool, because I went out there, and it was the middle of summer. It was so damn hot out there, but it was cool because they had a cake made for me. It was with the picture, with one of my pictures from my promo on there, and I was like, damn, that's kind of cool. But that was the last time, and that's probably been a couple of years now. So I don't know. It's I have a feeling there's some coming up. Like I always tell people, I don't plan to perform, but if certain people or certain situations, because
And Oscar's a family guy.
yeah,
It's very
I mean, I'll
family-oriented.
do it for certain people, and even if I'm out of practice or whatever, like if you guys were to come along and say, hey, we're doing a little event over here, you want to do a little 15 minutes, you guys, yeah, I would. So there's just situations like that, and
I know, bro, we got this.
you got
on
that,
video.
right?
Okay. You have now
Can you say that again?
I'm committed now.
You are now committed. We got the recording. So, but that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
And
it's been a while, but my comfort's always been more studio, and I know a lot of artists, their comfort is on stage, like that is their thing. Whereas for me, my thing is I enjoy more putting the work together.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And creating it. And a lot of people, like my brother Adolfo, he used to be with Cruces band. His thing is performing. I mean, that guy, he gets up in front of a crowd, and he's performing. That's his comfort place.
Nice.
So it's a little different with people. I don't mind performing though, but now it's just like, okay, if somebody needs me to, I'll do it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh man, well, Wicked, we appreciate you, brother, for joining us on this
Yes,
episode.
especially because I know I don't know if y'all should see me shifting a lot. It's freezing out here, and Wicked's still
Yeah,
out
man.
here. You're a trooper.
I rolled up, man, this morning. You guys hit me up yesterday. I just got off work, and I look, and I was like, oh, Joey messaged me. And then I see it, I'm like, okay, the show, cool. And then that's when Jackie, I think you said, yeah, when I asked you guys, what time? And
I'm
you
all,
said,
brace yourself about that.
About that.
I was like, oh, okay. And I got up this morning, and I walk out the house, and I said, nah, it's gonna get warm. I don't need a jacket. No, I think about 15 minutes before we start, I'm like, I'm gonna go to my car.
Yes, I
Get
know.
my
I just had a
jacket.
thin hoodie. I'm like, I should have brought my jacket. Like,
I know.
it's cold.
The only person I think that really prepared for this cold weather was Martine, because he's right now layered in like 3
Yeah,
jackets.
yeah.
So yeah,
And
he was.
And he's sitting in the sun.
I know, right?
Well, if they want to keep up with you, let them know your socials for your podcast. Yes.
Yes. So obviously, my music-wise, I'm on everywhere. iHeart, everything. Just look up The Wicked One, and I'm on there. I got some new music that I'm working on right now. Man, I got a good one that I'm working on. I don't know if you guys remember a song I did last year. It was a summertime song that I did with Rigo Luna.
Yes,
Southwest
do.
Summer.
Yes.
Well, he's coming back to do another song with
Oh,
me. So
nice.
he's out there in
Okay.
California, and right now he's actually got the song. He's working on his part right now. It's a little bit Bruno Mars-ish type of song.
Okay.
Almost the song that I relate the beat a lot to is 24 Karat Magic.
Okay.
It's that kind of old funk type of song. And
Okay.
Nice,
I
nice.
heard it and I said, oh, I gotta get this beat. I bought the beat. I don't care how much it is, man. Gave me this beat, and I sent it to Rigo, and Rigo's like, oh, we're gonna make this thing cook. So I got some new stuff I'm working on. I'm hoping to drop the album in the spring.
Nice.
As far as my music goes, and then as far as the podcast goes, I mean, anybody, if you love football, Gridiron Nation, I'm on YouTube, also on Spotify and everywhere you get all your audio podcasts and stuff. And then of course Off the Grid, I think that's my baby now. That's the show that I really, really want to take off, because I want it to be an outlet for this community, to be able just for people to go on and have their family members on there. Like when I had the brother and sister boxing duo, and I remember their mom, everybody just being so proud and happy. And that's what I kind of want to provide with people with this podcast. So the more people I can get to support it, though, the better. I get more people hearing about it. I can get more guests lining up for it, and it doesn't matter. Like you guys were talking about when you started the show, when you told everybody, let us know who you want to see. And I'm the same way. That's just it's the conversations that make it all fun.
Matt, and it's just a blast because we could be having this conversation forever just because we're hanging out and it's nice to be.
Yeah.
Although this weather really isn't.
We didn't prepare.
We didn't prepare.
You all see mocos on my nose. I'm so sorry.
We'll cut that out in the final cut.
Yeah, do a little bit of editing there, man.
But no, Wicked, like we said, we appreciate you, brother.
You guys.
We
Thank
thank
you.
you for everything that you've done, and
Keep
we
up the awesomeness.
we
yeah.
appreciate the friendship, man. We really
Oh
do,
man, and right back at you guys, man.
Oh,
I have nothing but
thank
the
you.
highest respect for both of you. And the fact that you guys got me on here and you thought of me, I was like, all right, man, let's do it. I couldn't say
thank
no.
you
I don't
for
care how
saying
early it
yes.
is. I got
Thank
up this
you.
morning, and y'all better feel special
Well,
because it's my day off.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I was
We feel
up at
special. We
5
do.
o'clock this morning for you guys. Okay.
We are so happy you do not text and drive, but when you paused and didn't respond right away, but you read it, we're like, oh no. Oh
like-
no, we're both in the phone.
I was like, he saw that time, and
I
he's like,
started laughing when I saw that because I did it. As you guys saw in the message, I was trying to navigate through that traffic on Telshore and Loman, which
It's
is
crazy,
hell
yeah.
in this town.
yeah.
So when I got home, I saw it and I saw the messages like, well, we need to do it another time.
Yeah.
I honestly, I laughed out loud. I was like, okay, let me just let them know.
Yes,
Now I
felt
was
so
driving.
bad.
I know
So-
we're like, that's it. That might be
We
a
were
little
seriously on the phone with each other, huh? We're like, I don't
We
think
were
he wants
waiting
to
for
do
you
it.
to text. Jack, I don't think he's gonna
We
text,
lost
dude.
him. We lost him.
Oh, I was like, if we need to take it to his house, we can pack these couches and the whole
Right.
set and go to his house if we need to.
Yeah, no, man.
Yep.
I'm always down to do anything you guys
Man.
Thank
want
you.
me to do,
We
need me to
appreciate
do,
that.
man. I always got your guys' back. Man.
Man,
So
we appreciate
it's all
you,
nothing
brother.
but love, man. You guys are familia.
So
you
you
guys
know what?
already know.
We're gonna have you in the show with your positive message.
Oh, I wasn't ready for
That
that.
was- yeah.
Sorry.
Man,
We
you gonna
always
put me
do
on the
this.
spot?
Just
Drop
like-
us a positive
yes.
message.
Okay. Oh man. Well, actually, I kind of had one that I was gonna use for my my football podcast this week.
Okay.
And it's kind of just more about what's the best way I can put it? See, I have it written down
Yes.
at my house, but I wasn't ready for this,
I
Jackie.
know, sorry. I just figured, you're always
You know
giving
what?
that positivity.
Okay, the best way to go is off the top of the head because that's when
From
it's
your
legit.
heart,
Yes,
yes.
that's when it's legit. So the message I can just tell everybody out there is, we talked about our podcast and we talked about everything that we've got going on. The constructive criticism, the haters, anything you get out there. Just the key to all of it, to just getting through all of it, is believing in yourself and blocking out the noise of those that don't believe in you and embracing, the music of the people that do. And a lot of people like to say, well, if it's family, of course they're going to support you. Of course, well, yeah, of course they are. But you know what? That's because that's your number one support system. Cling on to it, hold on to it, but most of all, as long as you believe that you can do something, as long as you know that in your heart, man, I am passionate about this. Even if, if I'm doing a podcast where I've got 15 listeners every single week or something, those are 15 listeners that believe in me, and that support whatever it is that I'm doing. And same with music, same with whatever it is you do every day in your life. As long as you go out there, you put 100% into it because you believe in yourself, you can do anything. That's the way I see it.
That's perfect.
Thank you, Wicked. Thank you.
That is Guys, this has been another edition of Big Show on the FM. Remember to follow us on our socials. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. And also you can catch us on Spotify as well. Until next week, thank you guys for checking us out.
One love.